As Jesus was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a sizable crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind man, the son of Timaeus, sat by the roadside begging. On hearing that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." Many rebuked him, telling him to be quiet. But he kept calling out all the more, "Son of David, have pity on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take courage, get up, Jesus is calling you." He threw aside his cloak, sprang up, and came to Jesus. Jesus said to him in reply, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man replied to him, "Master, I want to see." Jesus told him, "Go your way, your faith has saved you." Immediately he received his sight and followed him on the way. The Gospel of the Lord. I am told that on a hillside overlooking Lourdes, there is a statue of Bartimaeus, the blind man in today's gospel story. That statue is looking out toward the grotto shrine with his arms outstretched as if he wants to say again to Our Lady, "I want to see." The statue was put there by a woman who was blind and who came to Lourdes asking for a miracle. She did not receive one, but the eyes of her faith were opened to accept her blindness and make it work for her salvation. In gratitude to God's gift of faith, she placed that statue of Bartimaeus on the hillside. Bartimaeus in today's gospel is quite a character. He's a beggar. He lives by asking for anything people would give him. But then when Jesus passes by, he sees a chance of a lifetime. The only chance in his life he may ever have to ask this miracle worker to help him. So he calls out, and people try to stifle him. "Be quiet," they say. He calls out all the louder. And then Jesus hears him and calls him, he says. You notice in the gospel, it said that when Jesus called Bartimaeus, he threw aside his cloak. Now that cloak was very important to Bartimaeus. It was what kept him warm at night. And it is what he laid down on the ground during the day so that people could put alms or food or anything that would help him. So when he threw aside that cloak, it was like throwing aside everything in his past life. And he ran to Jesus. And Jesus asked him those wonderful words, "What can I do for you?" And he said, "Lord, that I may see." And his sight was restored. I wish it were that happy for all of us who say to God, "Lord, I want to see." Sometimes we don't see things clearly. Sometimes we wonder where we're going or what is happening in this world and how it affects us, what we can do. We wish we could see clearly God's plan for us. You may remember that Mother Teresa, that wonderful woman who went all over the world pleading for the causes of the poor and the wonderful work she did with the dying. Mother Teresa, for a long time, could not see in this sense that when she prayed, she said it was like living in darkness. She couldn't see God. God did not seem close to her. For about 60 years of her religious life, she lived in that blindness. Sometimes she couldn't even feel God's love for her, despite all the wonderful things that she was doing. But she accepted that darkness, that blindness, as God's gift to her and as her gift to God. Our Eucharist is a good time for you and me, like Bartimaeus, to say to the Lord, "Lord, that I might see. Give me the grace to see your will more clearly in my life." And maybe we'll remind ourselves again of those words in John's Gospel. Blessed are those who do not see. Blessed are those like Mother Teresa. Blessed are those like that woman who left that statue in Lourdes, who cannot see and yet who believe. That's our call. We may not see, but may we believe. Amen.